Hey, strangers, welcome back. It's been quite a while, so welcome back to a new episode of The Strange Sessions. As always, I am Kurt, and I am joined by my... I was going to say luscious, but that's just wrong. That would look my luxurious...
Made me cringe a little.
My luxurious co-host, Krista.
Everything I'm wearing is from like a thrift store, but sure.
And tonight we are joined by two very special guest co-hosts. They are active in the Strangers group. It is our good friends, Adam and Sophie.
Hi.
Welcome. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
I'm Sophie.
I'm Adam.
Good to be here.
I hope so. But they made the trip just to come here and be on the podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We won't say from where.
We can say from where.
Don't triangulate.
Yeah, don't triangulate. From Minnesota.
Yeah, it was a long trip. It's a big state.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Sophie has actually been one of my best friends for like 13 plus years. Mm-hmm. And this is the second time we've ever been together in person. The first time, she used to live in Ashland, Wisconsin. The first time I went there to see her, and we had an investigation at a bar. And I never got a picture of us together. That's because cell phones were kind of crappy, but that was when they were like old school
flip phones with
the pull-out keyboard, or you had to hit the buttons, three times
to get the
S. So there was like no picture of us, and it was just like
problems.
What the hell, Like I said, it got to the point where it was like a Tyler Durden thing. Like, did I like imagine her? Is she like a part of my personality, and
Some
she doesn't actually really
that.
exist?
I mean,
so it's just so nice that you guys were able to come here to be on the show. So thank you guys so much for making the trip.
thanks for having us. It's super exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
You like the old school media studio?
Yes,
it's
very
quaint.
much so.
And their postcard up on the wall behind me.
Our first ever fan mail.
Yep.
So
definitely hoping to hear some noises in here.
It's been
stupid air would shut off, and then I'm complaining about how hot I am.
It's been kind of quiet lately in here. We don't get a lot
quiet.
of noises. Every now and then in the middle of the podcast, we'll be like, "Did you hear that?
Did you hear that?
Did you hear that?" What was that? What show was that? Most Haunted?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys. We're happy to be back. It seems like it's been years since.
Weeks.
It's been a long time. Krista has all moved into her new house.
Yep.
The address is
1234
Main
Smith
Street.
I have a friend
In
whose address is
Anyville.
actually 123 and then whatever street.
Main Street. I know people that are 123 Main Street, and that sounds like John
Sounds
Smith
so
would live
generic.
there. Yeah.
I've lived at 2 addresses that were 420 something.
Oh.
Really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know what goes on there.
No
we want
comment.
We want to give shout outs to our new strangers, and those people are Nan Gardner, Amy Orheim, who I know. Hi, Amy. Thank you for listening. Sean Stewart, Dana Leon, Aaron Wallen, Patrick Engel, Kayla McDermott. And we also want to give a huge thanks to Liz, Melissa, Dash, and Quinn for sending us stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Quinn sent us a postcard from Sacramento.
We thought it said
And for some
San
reason,
Quentin.
both Krista and I thought it said San Quentin. It's like, is our podcast being like traded for cigarettes in prison or something that people have to listen to it? I don't know.
We were a little perplexed though because we can't find Quinn on Facebook anywhere. So
Yeah,
he
and
must be a listener that's not on social
It makes
media.
us realize that we probably have a lot of listeners that aren't...
She could be a...
or a
Quinn could be
guy. I think it could be a man. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. But it's just, we have a lot of listeners that probably don't post in the Strangers or in the Strange Sessions Facebook page. So it's kind of cool. We found out we have more listeners than we actually
Over
thought
400.
we do. Yeah.
And we have like some episodes over 600 listens. So I don't know if that's people starting and stopping and listening later. I don't know if it counts it twice.
It could be
Or if
stalkers
they
just
start-
listening to us over and over and over.
Oh, Lord.
I think that's what it is.
I think so too.
But over 400 unique listeners, which is
Yeah.
a big deal. So.
Yeah, that is.
Cool.
So if you're rating us on iTunes, thank you. Because
Yes,
I think
thank you
that
guys for the
probably
iTunes.
helps.
The ratings on iTunes are amazing. So thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And Liz and Melissa both sent us food to try. We're trying Liz's tonight. It's still in a sealed box, so we have no idea what it
I
is.
hope it's not perishable.
She said it's not. She said it's not.
It's been in a
And Liz
sealed
is super
box for like a
cool, and
month.
I don't think she would like send something awful or something spicy that would make me cry. So I think it's going to be okay.
Or it'll have like caution tape around it. So
Yeah.
you don't want to harsh your mellow with spicy food.
Exactly. And Dash sent us a couple of cool pictures.
Yeah, very
So
cool.
we have those hanging up here in the studio. So thank you so
Posted
much.
those on the strangers too.
Yes. So thank you so much, guys. Housekeeping?
Do we have any housekeeping?
Just that you probably already know this because you're listening to the podcast, but we release it now on Tuesdays instead of Sundays because we used to release it on Sundays, but then it got to be such a hassle. Like I work until 7 o'clock and then I would have to get home and upload them and do all this stuff. And it's easier to do it on Tuesday too because I'm off that day. So if there is some mishap, like we accidentally release one that hasn't been edited yet, that I can get in quickly and take it down. So now we will be releasing Tuesdays, probably Tuesday mornings around 10 or 11 my time.
Cool.
So look for us on Tuesdays now. And we also got the ball rolling with merchandise.
Yes. So, and I wanted to say this on the podcast because obviously we have listeners who aren't on social media, but we have stickers now. So we're trying to figure out where we're going to post those, either on our website. I got to work with Jeff and Joe with Old School Media to figure out how we're going to do that.
We want to get a PayPal up so people can pay.
But we're not sure if we're going to do it through Facebook or through the Strange Sessions website, but we'll figure it out.
Or just send us small unmarked bills, whatever works.
Small?
Well,
like dollars?
Small. Yeah. Hey, I'll take
they're going to be $3. So you have to send us at least $3.
$3. In pennies. They can send it in pennies.
Don't do that.
But I think that's all the housekeeping we have.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
We've gotten together once in the meantime since the last episode and recorded a promo for the episode for the podcast, which we might re-record.
Yeah, so if you're a listener and you have a podcast that you'd like to do like a little exchange of promos with us, let us know.
We would play your promo on ours.
Yeah.
Play ours on yours.
Cool.
But we might re-record it, so we'll see. I was told I sound too much like I'm reading off a piece of paper, and I do, so it's very distracting.
Okay. Well.
But I don't think we have any other housekeeping.
Nope.
You guys got any housekeeping? You guys need to give shout-outs.
I don't think
so.
Yes.
Shout-outs.
We have to do shout-outs, so you guys can do your shout-outs.
Cool. Thank you. So we've got 2 shout-outs. The first one is to my best friend, Amy Wenzel. Yay!
I love Amy.
And
Amy needs to come sometime too.
Yeah, for sure. And you said she actually submitted this idea, right?
She said, because she found out you were coming here.
Yeah.
And she said,
and she set me up
Sophie
is
coming,
what happened.
she kind of set you up, but in a loving way.
Yes.
So she messaged me and said you should totally do Ouija boards and stuff when Sophie is there because Sophie has had experiences. So yeah. So
cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you,
and
Amy. We love you. We
love you too.
To
We really
here.
want to make you to make the trip sometime, hopefully.
One of these days, for sure. And then our other shout out is to Dominic and Alex, who are holding down the fort at our house and watching the dogs. And for the record, I just literally pulled a mat of dog hair from the inside of my shirt. So I don't miss that part. Have fun.
Yes,
Thanks, guys.
Our dog travels with us always.
Yeah.
In spirit.
Right, exactly.
In spirit and
in
dog
tiny
hair.
hairs.
Yes. Or huge hairs. Huge wads of hair. Ugh.
So thank you, Dominic, and good luck.
Yeah. We wish you all the best.
Hopefully he'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not that bad.
We'll see.
So I just wanted to say, this started out as a surprise, right?
Yes.
So when along this journey did you figure out, I knew it was before you left, you figured out that you were coming here to be on the show?
Well,
I pretty much told her the next day.
Yep, that's true.
You couldn't keep it a secret.
I am very, very bad with secrets. I hate
she doesn't like
secrets and I
surprises.
hate surprises. And
Even though she asked me to surprise her.
That is true. That's true. Yes.
But I really couldn't tell her where we were going. We're taking the ferry across Lake Michigan tomorrow, and we're staying at a resort over there. It's a water park and a riding stable in one.
I know, it sounds really cool.
It's going to be amazing.
I couldn't really tell her that part without telling her that we were going to Manitowoc and recording a podcast. It's like, wait, we're taking the ferry from Manitowoc, but we're not going to see my best friend Kurt.
Yeah, that'd be kind of strange.
That would be messed up.
Then it was awkward because I didn't know if she knew for sure, and she would message me about stuff, and I'd say, well, theoretically, if you were coming to do the podcast, this might be the topic, theoretically.
Yeah, that was the fun part.
I don't know anything about it. But she knew she was coming.
I
here.
knew the whole time.
I don't like surprises either, so I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally get it too. I'd be pissed if they didn't tell me because I hate that stuff. Like, if anybody throws me a surprise birthday party, I'll be pissed. Like, seriously, I don't like that stuff.
Do we have to mark
Next
this
year.
explicit now?
Because I said pissed?
Just keep saying
I'm just
piss.
going to keep saying it.
I don't know. Maybe we don't have to. Is that one of those?
If you've heard our blooper
could probably
reel,
say that
if you
on
heard our
TV.
blooper reel that we have up in the Strangers Facebook closed group, you can hear that we get a little sweary sometimes.
And raunchy.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, "Wow, you guys are kind of naughty."
Because we try to keep it pretty tame.
Yeah, because
for the show.
I have friends with kids that listen to this, and I
Yeah.
don't want to get. I want to keep it like PG-13.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out to the listeners for sticking with us during
Mm-hmm.
our breaks and everything, because I know it's frustrating. I was missing it. I was missing researching stuff, and so it's just good to be back. Krista's all settled into her new non-haunted
Sorry.
house.
I had major life changes to do.
Yeah,
Not haunted. I'd like to say nothing weird has happened there yet, so that's good.
I played a lot of Fortnite. That's pretty much what I
Yeah.
did on our time off.
Done a lot of unpacking and hanging stuff up. I wanted to give a shout out to Mark Ebbison at Worldwide Limited in Burlington, Wisconsin. He is he went to I think high school with my husband, who I've been with for over 20 years. So I've known Mark for over 20 years. So he gave us a really good deal, and the stickers look amazing, and we have more.
Yeah,
coming,
the stickers
so.
are awesome.
They're
Thank you
really
so much.
cool.
And they have a website, so just Google Worldwide Limited in Burlington, and you can order anything from mugs to T-shirts to keychains. And
We're working on other stuff. We looked up T-shirts, how much that would cost, and we're like, oh, let's
I think
start
we're going to be
small.
making them, actually.
Yeah, we're talking
getting
about
a-
actually making.
My
Fun.
Jeff from Old School Media has screen printing stuff that he bought to do like some DIY shirts, so we're going to make shirts ourselves.
Yeah,
So we think
Awesome.
fans would kind of like having something that
That we
actually
made.
Yeah.
yeah,
And plus we can't afford them. So
it's expensive. Holy cow!
really,
Yeah.
it's like hundreds of dollars. So we're just, a budding podcast. We don't have a budget yet.
Yeah, but the stickers are awesome, and it's a
Yeah.
great start.
Yeah. Agreed.
So now on to our taste test.
All right.
This was sent to me by Liz, who is absolutely awesome. Love you, Liz. I'm trusting you that this isn't going to be horrible, because I have no idea what this is. It's still in a box sealed from Amazon. And we have... Oh, wow. A bunch of things.
Holy cow.
Oh, so this is for many. Look at the little sticker on the bag. What is that?
It's all from like little Asian... Like an Asian store. It's all little snacks and stuff.
So do we have maybe several taste tests in that bag?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is awesome, because
Wow.
we also got another one from Melissa that is the same thing. A lot of
Really?
Asian stuff, because she's got an Asian market near her. So that's awesome. So thank you so much.
What are we going to start with, Chris?
I don't know. Here, you guys, what do you think?
Oh my God.
I know.
How about we just reach in? Sophie, you do it. Reach in and grab something, and that's what we're going to taste.
Ooh. It's a
What
this
is it?
thing.
It's a this thing. Wrong accent.
It's a this thing.
Well, then, of course, it's all in, like, Chinese or
Yeah.
Mandarin or whatever. Oh, what is that?
I don't know. It looks a little bit like there might be oyster sauce on it.
Do you think that...
Are we taking one out and trying it
Yeah, we'll
together?
just each take a little piece
Yeah.
and pass it around, and then we'll all taste it at the same time.
Where's the one you said it looked like it had fish sauce on it?
Right over there.
He's taking a picture or trying to look it up. I don't know.
I don't know. I have
You want
no
me
idea.
you want me to be the first, or do we
Yeah.
try it together?
Well, let's each take a piece, and then we'll all try it at the same time.
Kind of looks like toasted coconut.
It
maybe?
Yeah,
does.
something.
Yeah.
Did you take a picture?
Oh, no.
It looks like it might be good.
Yeah, it does look like toasted coconut.
I'm going to set it up. What's up and what's down? Like, I don't even know what's right side up. It could be either way. I don't know.
It's got some kind of suspicious sauce pouring on it on the picture.
I think maybe that's a suggestion, though.
Like to put soy sauce on it?
Maybe.
Yeah, we don't even know what this is named because it's all in Japanese,
Or
Chinese,
Mandarin.
or Mandarin.
Or, I don't know.
Or I don't know. It looks like a really flattened fish stick.
Oh my gosh,
Hold
it
on, let me take a
does.
picture of that.
You better not eat that, honey.
Yeah. You try it first and tell me if it's fish.
Are you allergic to fish?
I am allergic to seafood.
Can I see
in
the wrapper?
general, yeah.
Wow.
Is it fish?
I don't know. I don't
What
know.
You're allergic to nuts. What if it has some kind of nuts in it?
Well,
We're going to all die.
Yeah.
I don't have any food allergies.
Yeah, I'm allergic to pecans, Brazil nuts, and hazelnuts, so please don't send me those.
Our next shipment.
This smell, I can't figure out what this even smells
Can I
like.
smell it? Try not to touch it too much. Oh, it's weird. It's like there's cheese and breading on it.
I can't figure out what...
It smells fishy.
It does smell like fish.
And cheese.
Fish and
I'm
cheese.
taking a little piece. What the hell? It's like bendy.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's like a fruit roll-up, but
It's
fish.
like a fish roll-up. I have no
Eat
idea.
It, Adam, eat it.
I literally have no idea what the hell that is.
I mean, it smells. We should record it. It smells salty. Like I can smell salt and breading
Oh, it's
and
definitely
cheese.
Is it fish?
It's fish.
I feel like it has a fish smell to it. Yeah.
Well, we'll take something else out and try
Yeah.
that too, so Sophie
Okay.
can try something. You ready? I'm actually kind of scared. I don't know what this is.
I'm ready.
It looks like a fish stick that somebody
does.
ran over with their car.
I'm going to take a picture of you.
Okay, ready?
Ready?
Okay. It's like somebody breaded a fish and just took the breading off after it was fried.
That's
Do you taste fish though?
You're right. It tastes like fish stick breading.
Yeah, it just tastes like the bread.
What the hell is this?
Like if you bring home a fish fry the day after, this is kind of what it would smell like.
This is just weird. I don't even know.
I think it's questionable enough that you shouldn't try it.
It's
Okay.
very soy saucy.
It's good though. I mean, I'm not saying it's not good. I just don't get it.
It's different.
This is their version of jerky.
No,
like
because I've
breaded.
had squid jerky and it's not good.
Oh.
This is, in my opinion, this is the weirdest thing we've ever eaten because I don't even know how to describe it.
I mean, it's got good flavor to it though. It's a little spicy.
It is a little spicy.
It's got a little burn in the back
Yeah,
of the
it's got
throat.
a tiny bit of thing. Oh,
It's not going to harsh your mellow or anything, is it?
No, it's not that spicy.
Okay. Just making sure.
That was strangely good.
I think it was good. Yeah. If you can get around the weird bendy chewy part.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it should be bendy and chewy, but
No, it's.
someone
I kind of
needs-
like that.
Someone needs to explain to us what this is. I think we have a listener who's over in Asia somewhere.
Yeah, tell us what this
Hong
is
Kong,
because
maybe?
it is a little spicy. Now I'm getting that little burn.
Just a tiny bit, though. It's not like the pepperoni
No,
jerky that...
that hurt my feelings. That was weird. That was weird, but good. Kinda.
Weirdly good.
fish processing products.
Okay.
Okay.
Good call.
Very good call.
It's
Yeah.
ironic that you're the one who pulled it out of the
I
bag.
know. Right.
Powdered glutinous rice, egg white,
There's our
think-
breading.
apricot,
Apricot.
Apricot. It did have a sweetness to it.
coloring material,
Yellow number 5.
It tasted like fish stick breading, like one big slab of fish
Minus
stick
the
breading.
fish, though.
Minus
There's like
the
no fish in there. Maybe it's just like fish
For people
skin.
like Sophie.
Breaded
It's like
fish skin.
just a hint of fish, you know.
the fish.
The
Yeah.
essence of fish.
That's right, fish essence.
All right, here's a good part.
You were really bummed out that we didn't like that fish bar that we tried.
I was the salmon bar
Yeah.
because
It
I
was
was like,
horrifying.
that actually sounds like it would be pretty good. And
I love
like
salmon.
yeah,
And it was horrifying.
yeah.
All right,
Okay,
you ready
ready.
for this translation?
Yes.
The left side of the face is shot in the sun. The high temperature and the wet eel are stored at room temperature.
Oh, wow.
That sums up what we just ate.
Yeah. Was that maybe it was eel. Maybe that was like a breaded eel jerky.
Flattened fish.
Flattened eel. I think that was breaded flattened eel.
It might be Japanese because it says Tokyo on here.
Okay.
I did Chinese.
That's
It's-
why it makes 0 sense.
Oh.
It's weird because I really kind of want another one now.
Shot in the face. Is
There
that
might
what
be
it's-
more in that bag. There's a lot of stuff in that bag.
Should we do another one so Sophie can try?
All right. Now we'll get something else so Sophie can try.
Sorry,
They're like,
guys.
Americans will buy this. It's
Pick a
fried.
candy.
Yeah, pick a candy.
This feels candy-ish.
Ooh. What if there's only one thing in there? Well, then just
Then
Sophie
she
will
can eat
try
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Puppy Ramoon, it says on the back.
Ooh, Ramoon is good. That's,
Puppy?
that's
Like-
a...
Oh, it's cute.
Like a baby dog?
Cuppy with a K.
Puppy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's little... Oh, I got to take a picture of that. It's adorable. It looks like it should be Easter candy or something.
Thank you, Liz, so much for this. There's a lot of stuff in here, so we're going to be good with taste tests for... And I know Melissa sent us stuff like this, too, so we're going to be good with taste tests for a while, which is good because it was getting hard finding stuff to try.
I never thought I'd call one of our taste tests adorable.
I know. It is really
adorable.
cute, though.
I didn't see it.
It looks like it's going to just taste like Smarties.
It looks like Smarties.
Yeah, like a sweet tart or...
Watch it be eel flavored.
Wow. Oh, it's actually kind of good, but it tastes strange and not like Smarties. It's good.
Is there more in there?
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch more.
Is it sour or sweet or both?
A little of both. But it almost reminds me of the one I had. Almost had like a little bit of a cucumbber flavor. It's like a theme. Yeah.
Well, are there different colored? So maybe they're different flavors.
I think
Kurt
I had a pink
looks
one.
confused.
I expected it to be sweeter. It wasn't real sweet.
White, pink, and orange.
It was good, though.
It's good, though. Yeah. I think I had pink, yes.
Okay, I'm going
It was
for
actually
orange.
really good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't super sweet, which I
I
like.
agree.
Very
I think
subtle
it's
smell.
pretty good.
Does it crunch?
But I
or
feel
does
like,
it just
no, it's like,
It
it's
kinda
it's
disintegrates,
dissolving.
yeah.
It's like a Tums.
It is
like a
chalky.
Tums.
It is kind of chalky.
But it has kind of a fresh flavor
But
to
it's
it.
good
More
because
than
it's
like
not.
a
It's like a
Smartie.
really
That's
not
weird.
overwhelming flavor.
Mine
It's
was
like really.
orange. Mine was
It's like
definitely
really
orange.
mellow.
Okay.
Mandarin orange.
It's pretty good.
Did you like yours, Adam?
Yeah, it was good. Ingredients are sugar, cornstarch, fruit juice pigment.
Eel.
You know, I'm going to need that app that he's using because we're going to have to figure this stuff out before we eat it.
Little bit of eel.
I redid this other one in Japanese, and it said shrimp and crab.
Either way, we
Okay.
dodged a
Good
bullet.
thing I did not eat that.
Well, so it is Liz.
These are from Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank
This
you,
is
Liz.
exciting.
Thank
We
you.
have
Thank you, Liz.
We
We have
literally
a-
have a
we
whole
have a
bag
lot
full
of
of taste
stuff.
tests.
I'm going to try a pink one now.
Okay.
They're good. I really like those more than
I'm trying a white one.
Smarties.
Oh, me too, for sure.
Smarties are too sweet. Wow. Thanks,
Not
Liz.
bad
We
at
got a
all.
lot of
We
these
have
to
to
try.
rate these, though. Okay, what about our breaded fried fish skin?
I give it an 8.
An 8?
An 8. Not knowing what it was, I'd give it a 6.
Yeah, I was going to say 6.
I thought it was.
The weird texture was weird and bendy, but the flavor was pretty good.
The flavor was pretty good. It tasted
I
like.
would expect that to be crunchy,
Yeah.
and it was not.
No, it was real
crunchy.
bendy. It was better than I
I
expected.
love that bendy is now sort of like a flavor.
It tasted bendy.
It's a culinary term, bendy.
think so.
Bendy.
I thought
Okay.
I gave it an 8. I liked it.
What about the candy?
The candy I gave an 8 too because it was good and it wasn't overwhelming. Except the white one had that weird thing going on where at first it tasted like something and then tastes like something completely different.
Sophie?
I would give the candy an 8. I liked it. I could see myself wanting to eat more of it.
Yes.
Adam?
7.5.
Wow.
Ooh.
I could eat the whole bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going with 7 because I'm a chocolate person. I don't normally like candy unless if you put that in chocolate, I'd probably eat more. But I think it was
Bet
a
you that'd be
solid
good in
7.
chocolate. Yeah. It was good. I
Sweet.
liked that fish thing. I gotta find out. I'll find out by the next episode what the hell that was we ate. But I think it
Yeah.
was. I think it might have been eel. I think there was eel in there. I
I'm
really
hoping
do.
one of our if you're a listener and you're not on social media, find us on Facebook, and if you can read Mandarin or whatever that was, check it out. We'll post a picture. So I gotta know what that is. It's probably something
hopefully
none
one of us
has-
wasn't allergic
yeah.
to whatever's in there, else and we'll start breaking out in a
I have
rash.
yet to find a food
Flat
allergy.
bendy eel bar.
Bendy.
I think is the technical name.
If
Fried.
you weren't allergic to seafood, you would like it because it had a very heavy soy sauce
Yeah.
flavor.
It was like
Yeah.
an umami.
I do.
Like, yeah,
love soy
Yeah,
sauce.
I had
I
that.
would have liked it for
I
sure.
love soy sauce. People at work used to give me crap because I used to put the soy sauce in the top,
Little packets.
the cover of the thing, and then do little mini shots of it because I love soy sauce.
Wow.
When I was a kid, I used to drink it
Yeah.
straight out of the bottle.
Yep.
Dang.
Yeah.
She used to hide it under her bed.
I did. I would steal the soy sauce and hide it
Serious?
under my bed. Yes.
Oh,
My
salty
parents
goodness.
thought that I had like something wrong with my kidneys. I was obsessed with salt.
That's a lot of salt.
I would also steal my dad's his little saline tablets from like way back in the day when you actually had to make your own saline solution for contact lenses.
Really?
It would come in these little tablets, and I would take them out and hide them under my bed and then eat them later.
Wow.
Yep.
That's like pica. Isn't that what that's called? When you have like a weird
it
obsession
really
with,
almost
like, a
was
weird, that's
pica, yeah,
interesting.
just for salt. It's gotten much better.
I think I've said on another podcast that I got yelled at by my parents because they used to go in and find sticks of butter with big bite marks out of them because I used to eat sticks of butter.
I can get the butter at least.
Yeah.
Butter's good, yeah.
This is Wisconsin.
Butter's
That's what we
good.
do.
Yeah. We
that's
fry
right.
it and sell it at state fairs.
That's how I raise our young children.
Adam is bound and determined to figure out this fish
He's a
thing.
studier, you guys.
He is a
He
studier.
is.
He needs
He's
to
our
be a
research.
researcher. He needs to be a researcher.
Definitely when I'm in
Absolutely.
charge of the episode, I'll contact Adam and have
The
him
front
do
of
it.
it says rice and tonkatsu sauce.
That's what I was going to guess.
Yeah.
I was like,
Tip of my
I
tongue.
swear there's a
Yep.
little bit of essence of
Tonkatsu sauce.
Yep.
I want to say Tatanka, but that was like the bull in Dances with Wolves.
Yup. Tatanka.
Thank you so much, Liz. We're going to be eating this stuff for a while, so thank you.
Thank you.
And tonight's topic, as we have mentioned earlier, is Ouija boards and
Zozo.
Zozo, the Ouija board demon that you have to be, if you say his name, you supposedly increase its power, and
So
it'll
we're
visit
adding
you.
a huh on the beginning.
So I will be saying the demons' names this episode.
I will be saying he who must not be named.
So, ready?
ready?
Here we go.
Okay.
In 1992, historian Robert Murch decided to look into the origins of the Ouija board and was surprised to find out that there was actually very little historical information out there about it. Murch said, quote, "For such an iconic thing that strikes both fear and wonder in American culture, how can no one know where it came from?" So he began to research the history of the board, and much of what we know today came from his research. The origins of the Ouija board come from the 19th century fascination with spiritualism and with the mediums who claimed to be intermediaries between the living and the dead. Methods of spirit communication during the seances at the time included such things as knocking, table tipping, and something called a planchette, which was a teardrop-shaped device with wheels on one end and a pencil mounted on the other. The medium would put their fingers on the planchette, and it would mysteriously begin to move, slowly writing out letters with the pencil. As you can imagine, this wasn't exactly speedy or riveting, so mediums began to look into how to improve the process. Mediums built complicated devices and tables in an attempt to streamline this method of communication, but the most popular method involved letters being painted onto the top of the table and the planchette moving to point to the letters, which, as we all know, is what a Ouija board basically is. An 1886 Associated Press article reported on this new phenomenon taking over the spiritualism scene in Ohio, which was apparently the scene.
It's a hopping scene.
It's a hopping scene in Ohio, called The Talking Board. Charles Kennard of Baltimore, Maryland, happened to read the article. In 1890, he pulled together a group of 4 other investors, including Washington Bowie, a surveyor, and Elijah Bond, an attorney, to start the Kennard Novelty Company to exclusively make and market these new talking boards. Not having a name for the board, the group of investors and some family members decided to ask the board itself. Sitting around the table, Bond's sister-in-law, Helen Peters, who was a medium, asked the question, and the planchette she was touching started to move. It spelled out the letters that we all know today. When they asked what Ouija meant, the board simply replied with the phrase, "good luck." But by some reports, Helen was wearing a pendant that night with a woman's photo on it. The woman was author and women's rights activist Maria Louise Ramée, who went by the pen name Ouida, which was also written on the pendant. It's speculated that Helen may have purposely moved the planchette to spell out the name of someone she greatly respected, accidentally spelling it Ouija instead of Ouida. So, yeah,
That's interesting.
that is interesting. As written in a 2013 article on Smithsonian.com, quote, "According to Murch's interviews with the descendants of the Ouija founders and the original Ouija patent file itself, which he's seen, the story of the board's patent request was true. Knowing that if they couldn't prove that the board worked, they wouldn't get their patent, Bond brought the indispensable medium Peters to the patent office in Washington with him when he filled out the application."
I just love that somebody wanted to patent
I know.
a Ouija board.
There, the chief patent officer demanded a demonstration. If the board could accurately spell out his name, which was supposed to be unknown to Bond and Peters, he'd allow the patent application to proceed. They all sat down, communed with the spirits, and the planchette faithfully spelled out the patent officer's name. Whether or not it was mystical spirits or the fact that Bond, as a patent attorney, may have known the man's name, well, that's unclear, Murch says. But on February 10th, 1891, a white-faced and visibly shaken patent officer awarded Bond a patent for his new game.
Yikes.
Then the money started rolling in, and there were a bunch of shake-ups, public feuding, firings, hirings, a strange death or two, and all sorts of drama behind the scenes, culminating in the board being sold to Parker Brothers in 1966. In 1967, Parker Brothers sold over 2 million boards, outselling Monopoly. Then, something interesting happened in 1973. The board's presence and influence went through the roof when 12-year-old Reagan McNeil is possessed by a demon named Captain Howdy that she made contact with through a Ouija board in the film The Exorcist. But after the film, sales drop off and the board's reputation darkens as people become totally freaked out by the thing. Where it was seen as more of a harmless parlor game before, now it was seen as a tool of demonic possession. Religious groups would burn Ouija boards and bonfires along with heavy metal albums or copies of Harry Potter. Even paranormal research groups began to be freaked out by the board, banning it from being used on investigations. And that's us. Yeah,
I think that's pretty standard,
Yeah.
isn't it, for paranormal groups to
Yeah.
not suggest using...
Vicky had a
anything
group
like
come
that?
in that wanted to use a Ouija board, and she was like, no.
Yeah.
She absolutely forbid it. I don't like them. I don't use them. I don't ever want to use one on an investigation.
Yeah. They're pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Hasbro acquired the board from Parker Brothers in 1991. Hundreds of thousands of boards are still sold every year, but it's now more because it's spooky and edgy and dangerous rather than a spiritual parlor game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a real quick history on Ouija boards.
By the way, my mom's from when she was a kid is still up for grabs if anybody wants it. It's
Sophie's
old.
birthday is tomorrow. We should give it
It's
to
going
her.
to be a hard pass for me.
I posted on the Strangers months ago, so anyone interested?
No,
It's just sitting. I was there. I saw it last time I went over there.
I don't like them.
You know, how do you guys feel about like dowsing rods and pendulums? I mean, are they the same thing as a Ouija board?
I think that's a really super good question. I think even just doing like a question and answer session with
a recorder
can be similar. I really don't know why it seems like Ouija boards are more dangerous. But,
I feel like because Ouija
Mm-hmm.
boards can communicate with you. I think that's why. I think a pendulum, all it can do is
Pendulum
swing.
is yes or no.
Yeah. So, but I think a Ouija board can actually spell words and phrases, and I
Yeah.
think that makes it more dangerous.
I think there's an argument to be made, though, with just about any situation where you are asking for something that's not on, however you would describe it, like the same
this
plane
plane or
as
whatever.
you're
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that any of that can open a door that you don't want to open. But
Totally
there
agree.
is just, maybe it's because people that use Ouija boards are generally younger and more impressionable,
Yep.
maybe easier to attach to. I don't know.
What do you think about Ouija boards, Adam? Are you kind of a
Are you a
skeptic with this
skeptic?
stuff?
Yes.
The second I said, "Did you hear something?" He's like, "I didn't hear anything."
That's my husband.
It's good. I
Yeah.
like having somebody skeptical.
too.
I've never
really
used
do.
a Ouija board. I've only seen them in movies and TV shows.
I would love to have Adam on an
I
investigation or Jim on an investigation because sometimes we can get a little carried away with thinking that everything we hear is something spooky. You know, so
I
it'd be
used
nice
Ouija
having
boards
somebody
as a
reel
kid.
us in.
And I never had an experience. I mean, we played with them all the time. Probably the one my mom is selling.
You know, to build off of what you said, Kurt, the funny thing about Adam being on an investigation is he would never do it because it freaks him out.
You know what? Ever since my husband
but-
got scratched,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's changed his mind a little bit.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that if you're a skeptic, it's hard
It's
to...
earth shattering
it's
when something
earth-shattering.
happens to you.
Yep.
So how does a Ouija board work? There are 3 theories. Theory number 1, it's being moved by a spirit either there in the room or by a spirit working through the person touching the planchette. There are a lot of reports of Ouija boards telling people where to find things or telling the user something that nobody would know. Is that an example of latent psychic ability coming through? Possibly. That's one of the theories about it, is that it's your psychic abilities manifesting and moving the planchette.
Okay.
Don't know what I think of that. But there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of stories of strange things happening while someone is using a Ouija board or after someone uses it. And there are a lot of stories about a location not having any strange paranormal activity until someone uses a Ouija board there. Theory number 2. It's being moved purposely by the people touching the planchette. Everybody knows that happens sometimes.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, my whole childhood.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happened but one of us moving it.
Theory number 3, it's being moved unconsciously by the people touching the planchette. In 1852, physician William Benjamin Carpenter published a report for the Royal Institution of Great Britain examining automatic muscular movements that take place without the conscious will of the individual, called the idiometer effect. These are basically involuntary and unconscious muscle movements and physical reactions. These little movements are what cause the planchette to move. Dr. Chris French, professor of psychology at Goldsmiths University of London, explains, quote, "It can generate a very strong impression that the movement is being caused by some outside force, but it's not. The thing about all these mechanisms we're talking about, dowsing rods, Ouija boards, pendulums, these small tables, they're all devices where a small muscular movement can cause quite a large effect. The planchette is made from very light plastic, often having felt pads on its feet, making it really easy to slide across a smooth board. Plus, in most situations, there is an expectation or suggestion that the board is somehow mystical or magical, which helps fuel the unconscious movement."
I think that's a good...
Yeah,
I think it's a really good point, and
I think so too.
Yeah. And then if you look into things like poltergeist activity,
Yep.
and I can see how perhaps it's sort of a manifestation
Yes.
of that as well.
You're
But
actually getting
who
ahead of me.
knows?
That's going to come up
Oh,
in the next.
sorry.
That's going to come up in the
That's
next.
my
part.
psychic ability.
But it is. We're going to hold off on our verdicts about what we think about Ouija boards until the end, because just the first half was about the history of the Ouija boards. The second half is about something called Zozo, which is really weird. And the more I looked up about it, it's like, ugh.
Should we be talking about this?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
We're going to talk about Zozo. In a March 24th, 2009 post on a website called True Ghost Tales, Darren Wayne Evans posted about his Ouija board experiences. In his post, he stated, quote, "During my experiences with Ouija boards, one particular spirit always seemed compelled to make its presence known. Its name is Zozo, Z-O-Z-O. Today, I refuse to even pronounce its name, as I believe the mere pronunciation of it can cause it to manifest itself. Too many times to count, it has first pretended to be a nice spirit or pretended to be whomever I was trying to contact, but eventually it showed its true self, cussing me, threatening me, or others in the room. Once it actually cussed me using what looked like Latin or Hebrew and using biblical terminology.
No.
I was genuinely fascinated and startled by how many times Zozo showed up, even in many different states and on many different Ouija boards. It always wound up being very nasty and commented freely about how it wanted to possess my female friends and take them to paradise. When asked where paradise was, it spelled out the letters H-E-L-L. One time, after Zozo was being extremely evil, I walked into my bathroom only to see my 1-year-old daughter about to drown. Her mother had left her alone in the tub just for a second, and somehow the water got turned on and was overflowing. Instinctively, she had her face tilted up and was seconds from going under when I grabbed her from the water."
Wow.
Yikes.
That's crazy.
He goes on to say, "A few months ago, I Googled the word Zozo. To my shock, many other people have also been contacted by a demon by the same name. I read about 20 similar stories, and I am now convinced that this simply cannot be mere coincidence. Supposedly, Zozo is an ancient demon name which possibly stands for the Destroyer. Claims of demonic possession are associated with this Zozo, and I feel it is my duty to warn people to steer clear from this if it happens to present itself during a Ouija board session." He also says, "What is this Zozo? Supposedly, the 3-headed dog demon which guards the gates of hell has a tattoo on its forehead that spells Zozo."
Cerberus?
Yes. That I've never heard of it having a tattoo, but that's pretty heavy
I haven't
metal.
either. I really want a 3-headed dog with a tattoo on its head.
Yeah.
Which head?
That's a good question.
I'm picturing Fluffy from
Yeah.
Harry Potter. Right. Guarding what? The Chamber of Secrets?
Yup.
No?
Didn't
No,
see
Kurt?
it. Didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh, boy.
It was satanic. People were burning those books. Also,
Good call.
also, Zozo is a term Aleister Crowley claimed meant 666. Jimmy Page of the rock group Led Zeppelin also used Zozo as a symbol on the Led Zeppelin 4 album, which he did. When you look, it's each of the members picked a symbol, and his is ZOSO. And Jimmy Page was like big into the occult and Aleister Crowley and stuff, so people think that this was like a little shout out to Zozo himself. How can so many different people from so many different parts of the world somehow lie about this Zozo spirit? And if they aren't lying, then how can you explain these visitations by this wicked entity? Is Zozo the devil himself, or a wayward demon that has the power to manifest itself wherever and whenever it is called? When people started looking into the history of Zozo, they discovered that a supernatural entity called Zozo was referenced in the 1818 French book Le Dictionnaire Infernal. It's a demonological encyclopedia written by French author Jacques-Auguste Simon Colin de Plancy. Pick a name. He recounts the story of a young village girl who claimed she'd been possessed by 3 demons named Mimi, Zozo, and Crapulé.
I'm sorry,
And
what?
hang on, what?
Crapulé. Crapoulet. Crapulé.
Okay.
That's a good name.
It's
The
a
best
good name.
demon name I've ever heard.
Right.
You know, Zozo's kind of scary. Crapulé,
Crapulé. That's,
not so much.
oh, not supposed to say these names.
I know.
Ugh.
I know. I'm screwed. Where was I here? According to accounts, an exorcism was conducted on the girl. The demon named Mimi immediately fled the girl's body. That one was like, deuces, I'm out. But Zozo was much more difficult. Finally, Zozo seemed to leave the girl's body, but seconds after the demon seemed to leave the body, the priest heard what sounded like footsteps quickly climbing up the stairs to the second floor of the church, running down the hallway, and then the sound of a window shattering as if the demon threw itself through the window to escape. That's creepy.
Wow.
Yeah.
If a demon's scared.
Yeah. So what is this Zozo? Zozo also goes by the names Zozo, Z-O-S-O, Zaza, Z-A-Z-A, Mama, Oz, Zo, Za, Abacus, or just the letter Z, either pointed to by the planchette or by the planchette quickly moving in a zigzag manner and repeatedly making a huge letter Z on the Ouija board. And I hear that one come up a lot. Zozo's MO is to introduce itself to unwary spirit board users, interact with them through the board for a little while, and then slowly begin to spread its influence over their lives. People who claim to have encountered Zozo often describe experiencing sudden, intense feelings of anger, fear, depression, or suicidal intentions while speaking with the entity through a spirit board. Some victims even say they've experienced physical symptoms, including headaches, sleepwalking, and in one case, an infection. I don't know.
Like a sinus infection.
I don't know. I don't know. But infections are never fun.
That's true. We shouldn't laugh at people
No.
with infections.
Inexplicable strings of bad luck have also been attributed to Zozo. He delights in frightening humans, and some believe that he gets more powerful the more he scares people and takes over people's bodies. There are some people who believe that Zozo is actually the demon Pazuzu. In ancient Mesopotamian religions, Pazuzu was the king of the demons of the underworld. Pazuzu was also the demon that possesses Regan McNeil in The Exorcist. While Zozo is most often contacted using a Ouija board, it is possible that he can contact people outside of the game as well through other means. People have reportedly made contact with him during hypnosis, auto-writing sessions, and trying for electronic voice phenomena, or
Ooh.
EVP.
Really? So people have heard
Yeah.
a voice.
Yeah. A
I'd like
voice
to
or
find a
heard his
recording
name.
of that.
Yeah. I don't know if
I don't want
would.
to capture it.
Yeah,
I'd like
I
to
don't
hear it
either.
online.
So here are signs that you are talking to Zozo.
Okay.
Number 1, the temperature or darkness of the room may change. If it's dark, it may become darker than dark. There is often a heavy feeling of dread or fear in the room, and shadows may be seen moving in the darkness. And that
Are you
always
having a
makes
flashback to
that always makes me
Stoughton?
think of Vicky's place, where our first EVP session we had that where the room
Yeah.
was pitch black, and then when we felt like whatever it was entered the room, it got like even darker, which is hard to explain to somebody unless you experience.
I've had that happen before too.
Yeah.
It's
Unsettling.
It's very,
very
unsettling.
You feel very
Yeah.
vulnerable too because you cannot see what's
Yep.
coming.
Yeah, when I read that was the first thing I thought of was Vicky's.
Okay.
Zozo often starts by pretending to be someone else. He can pretend to be whoever the person using the Ouija board will be most sympathetic to. He can pretend to be the spirit of a scared little girl or a beloved relative who has passed. He will eventually reveal himself with a Z and then finally Zozo.
That's too creepy.
I know.
I've never actually read that before, but that's nuts. Yeah.
Anytime something is impersonating something else, it's
That
really
that also
creepy.
comes up with
Yep.
Vicky's, where Barry really thought that whatever we thought that people were seeing this little girl spirit in the building, that people thought that wasn't,
Right.
that Barry thought that wasn't what it was really.
Right.
I'm so skeptical of children type ghosts
Yeah.
for that reason. That just I
Yeah,
don't,
because
I don't
everybody
trust it. Yeah.
everybody has a protective and they want to
Yep.
Right.
I don't trust it.
open themselves to that, and you shouldn't. Once Zozo reveals himself, he will often spell his name over and over up to hundreds of times in a row. The Z and the O are located on opposite sides of the Ouija board's lower line. In order to spell its name, Zozo will often move the planchette in the shape of an infinity sign between the Z and O. And this comes up all the time, where it's moving in that zigzag, making that helix or whatever you want to call that. He constantly does that over and over. It is said that when this infinity sign keeps happening over and over, this is when things are the most dangerous, because this is when Zozo is deciding who he will attempt to possess.
Oh, jeez.
Number 5, glass and especially mirrors may break. Number 6, scratches may start appearing on the bodies of people in the room or nearby. Number 7, Zozo delights in telling people, especially females, that they will die soon. Yep. Number 8, a conversation with one spirit is interrupted by another entity, which becomes increasingly antagonistic. And number 9, your electronic devices like smartphones or laptops may start to go crazy. Your television may start to flicker, and other devices will start to make high-pitched squealing noises. And here are a couple random stories of a Zozo. If you do a search on Zozo, you're going to find tons of stuff on the internet. It started basically like in 2009, and since then it's blown up. So here is a story. Me and a friend, it should be a friend and I, just want to get that out of the way.
Come on, you guys.
Me and a friend were using the Ouija board, and we ran into a spirit named Cam, who said he died in a crash. We were joking and asked if he could mess around with my boyfriend. The next day, Cam said he was following us. He said his mom was still alive and told us that he was 8 years old. He gave us a phone number and an area code. He later revealed to us that he was actually Zozo. We said goodbye and immediately started talking to another spirit. The new spirit was named Ray and said we couldn't be hurt by Zozo because I had a very strong energy, and Ray said that he was attracted to my strong energy. Every one of them was. Later, he said I shouldn't talk to Zozo ever again because he would try to weaken and hurt me. Just 20 minutes ago, we came upstairs to find my boyfriend's pet frog dead, looking like it had been crushed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another story.
I'm curious to know how old this person is.
I don't know.
They sound like a kid.
Yeah. Another story. Okay, long story short. My fiance and I have owned a Ouija board for years, and we had a lot of positive things come through until the name Zozo did a couple times. Zozo repeatedly said that he wanted to rape me.
Oh.
Then, after I studied and read more, I learned that this demon went by other names as well. Well, my fiance has been having strange things occurring now, and the worst was that he had a burning on his arm at work. He looked down a little while later to see scratches in his arm in the shape of the letters M-A-M-A.
Oh,
I don't want to put too much fear into this because I know that that's what they want, but what could this mean? Another story. I read several stories about Zozo, and now I know that I am not crazy. It all started with the Ouija board as well. It was the 4 of us, all girls. At first, it was all for fun. We always thought the other one was moving it until Zozo. He was powerful. He seemed really nice at first, and at some points he seemed flirtatious. One night, I awoke to a chill or a draft in my room, and when I opened my eyes, I saw a dark shadow of a figure. It was dark, darker than any shade of black I have ever seen. It seemed to hover over me, and the whole time my mind was saying Zozo, Zozo. It was only a couple seconds, but it felt like eternity. The next morning, my sister woke up after a similar dream, except she had 3 long, deep scratches on the back of her shoulder. We stopped playing with the board after that, but it has not stopped. It has been about 9 years since that day, and if I could take it all back, I would. He is always there, in our dreams, everywhere. You just feel him. I don't care if you believe me or not, but please don't ever play with the Ouija board. It will haunt you.
I'm going to be so pissed if I dream about Zozo tonight.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm going to have sleep paralysis for the first time in who knows how long.
Oh, no.
Okay, one last.
Better not happen.
I'm so glad I never have that.
Oh, it's horrible.
It is.
Yeah.
One last story. Hi there, my name is Aaron, and here's my Ouija board experience with Zozo. My curiosity with the Ouija board began about 2 years ago when me and my fiance started a session with a friend of ours. We decided to make a board of our own, and this particular night a spirit or entity came through. We asked him what his name was, and it said Zozo. We never once asked questions about the future or when we were going to die or anything like that. It never once said that it was a bad spirit, nor did it show any signs that it meant us any harm. During the session, it seemed as though it was anxious or something because the planchette started circling around the board uncontrollably. Nothing else happened while we were using the board to make us think that this was bad. A couple days later, we used it again, and the same spirit came through. This time, Zozo was telling me I should start writing a book about a boy who was kidnapped and has never been found. He gave me details on why this boy disappeared and where to look for evidence for this book. After this session, I started having strange dreams about the book that I was supposed to write, so I actually did sit down and start to write it. When I didn't write, my fiancée would hear a voice telling her to tell me to write the book. This went on for about 3 weeks or so. Stuff in our apartment started to go missing, and the TV would turn on by itself, and the subtitles would come on the TV all by itself. I started writing this book it wanted me to write, and stuff seemed to get worse. One night, my fiancé woke up during the night to find a black figure hovering over me with its arm reaching out to grab me, but when she touched me, it disappeared. The next day, I was getting ready for work and went to have a shave, and I found my razor wasn't where it usually was in the second drawer. It was in the corner of the shower, so I put it back in the usual spot. This happened 2 days in a row. The next day, again getting ready for work, I was in the shower. My fiancé walked out of the bathroom but left the door open slightly, and about a minute later, the door slammed shut with a loud bang. I immediately got out, dried myself, got dressed, and tried to open the door but couldn't. It was as if someone was on the other side holding it shut. At night, we would see shadows walking up and down the hallway, and my fiancé would always hear these voices talking to her. It was this that made us decide to do something about it. We saw a clairvoyant, told her what was happening, and she said there was a demon of sorts, but could not say who or what it was. She gave us instructions on how to cleanse our house and car, because apparently it went with me everywhere I went. We did as she said, and everything returned to normal until about 2 months ago when things started to disappear again. We have used the Ouija board recently, but have had no contact with anything, no activity whatsoever.
Why?
Well, that's my experience.
Why?
I don't know.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. If you encounter Zozo, here are some things to do. Number 1, remain calm because demons feed on fear. And I hear that quite a bit, that is like their energy. Number 2, do not speak his name. Speaking the name of a demon increases its power.
Zozo.
So hopefully we're
Zozo.
okay. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah. Number 3, if you are using the Ouija board, don't just stop using it. You have to move the planchette to goodbye to formally close the Ouija board. If you are using another contact method, close it immediately. Number 4, never use that Ouija board again.
Number 5, don't ever use a Ouija board.
Don't ever use a
Just
Ouija
don't.
board. Just don't.
Just don't do it.
And theories. We have 3 theories for Zozo.
Okay.
Number 1, Zozo doesn't exist. It's basically like Slenderman or
Slenderman.
or creepypastas.
Sure. I mean, it did start up in 2009,
Yeah.
right?
Looking back at Le Dictionnaire Infernal, according to the website The Paranormal Scholar, they did an accurate translation of the French text of Le Dictionnaire Infernal that showed that the girl's story was faked. She rattled nonsense, the author wrote, adding that the girl may have been trying to cover up a pregnancy and that she had been publicly beaten years before for faking possession. She was eventually imprisoned for her fibs about possession.
Oh.
Yep. And then we get to Darren Wayne Evans, who wrote the first story that kind of started this recent trend. Darren Wayne Evans, the one who first posted about the Zozo phenomenon, has changed his story several times. He later wrote a book about Zozo, claiming that in 1982 he discovered a Ouija board buried in the dirt in a crawl space under his girlfriend's house. At each corner of the board was a glass jar containing the preserved remains of black birds, and the word Zozo was written on the board where the word Ouija usually is. This had never come up before in his discussions of Zozo. It had never been uttered until he wrote this book, which made a lot of people think
He's enhancing the story.
he's enhancing the story. So that's some stuff that Zozo doesn't exist.
Okay.
Number 2 is that Zozo does exist. And for this, there's just way too many stories about the Zozo stuff. People could be making it up, but a lot of these seem real.
Mm-hmm. Well, my experiences with Ouija, and in my experiences, it wasn't ever called Zozo, but it was just the letter Z.
Yep. And that when I was reading this, that's why you're one of the reasons why I buy this stuff.
And I had never heard of this being a phenomenon until much, much later. Because this happened, I used to play on the board, as we called it, but when I was a young teenager. And we had all sorts of friends that would come up on there. And then what would happen is all of a sudden this sort of stronger entity would just crash in and send that planchette way over to that Z. And it would do the circling that
was one of the signs that it was Zozo.
Yeah,
was that
it would just
it would talk over, it would push the other person out. And
And we'd be like, oh crap, it's Z. And then we would literally scrub the goodbye with the planchette to hang up on him. But
I knew your stories, and reading this stuff, I was like, so much of this fits what you told me years before,
before
2009.
any of this ever came out.
Yeah. That's why I buy this, is because of that.
And it almost got to the point where my friends and I, one of whom is Amy Wenzel, who suggested this topic. But
love you, Amy.
Yeah, love you, Amy. That was scary stuff. But it was almost like we could get things to do parlor tricks while we were on the Ouija board. Like, we could get a candle to blow out. We could get a book to flip through the pages. There was one point where there were footsteps outside of the back of my parents' house, which is extremely rural, and no one was there, and it sounded like someone was throwing things at the house. Just a lot of very, very, very strange things, but lights burning out all the time. But I definitely think there's something to this phenomenon. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that reading some of these stories, it's really pretty terrifying to hear how similar it is to my experiences.
And a lot of these stories started with people saying, this happened to me 20 years ago, and I didn't even realize that this Zozo was a thing until I read this, and I was like, holy crap, this happened to me in the late 80s.
Yeah, I'll be 39 tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Shout out to myself for my birthday. But yeah, this stuff happened when I probably started when I was about 12. And honestly, the Ouija board almost got to be an addiction for us.
I remember you telling me that.
It was every day we wanted to talk to our friends, and
you got to know these other people, like friends, actual friends, where you would get to know them, where you knew what they liked, what they didn't like.
Right.
Did Barry kind of go through a phase like that?
I don't remember. I don't remember Barry talking about using the Ouija board.
Was it a pendulum then or something? I just remember her talking about getting kind of deep into it.
It's really addicting, and I don't think we really for sure stopped. It was after we were driving for sure. So years of doing this, and the reason we stopped is we were warned by a different entity on the board to not go on it anymore, that it wasn't safe.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, and I remember you telling me about this shortly after we became friends, and that was before 2009, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because I remember specifically you telling me the Z.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me the Z. So I knew, that's it. That's what freaks me out, is that you told me this stuff before this was a thing.
Yeah, because looking back, we probably became friends in 02 or 03.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We met on the Taps Ghost Hunters
Yes, we
message
did.
board.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
Yes, we
yeah. I was
did.
on there.
For
I was on there
something,
right?
looking
Yep.
for stuff, and she posted about being in Wisconsin and wanting to get a ghost hunting group together.
Yeah, and I asked for tips on like just the bare minimum of starting a group, and all I got was hate from everybody. And they're like, "Oh, it's
So
such a
crazy.
fad right now. Everyone wants to start their own group, you know." And then the only person that was nice about it and actually gave pointers was Kurt, and that's
Yay.
how we became
Yeah,
friends.
we became really good friends.
Yep.
That's funny.
So that's
Taps.
really cool. Yeah, it was a Taps message board.
Yeah. Yep.
But you told me about this shortly after we became friends.
Yeah.
And I've always been fascinated by your stories about that.
Yeah, and it tied into so much other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like just strange paranormal type things. I think all of it sort of got kicked up from that.
Do you feel like this is where your paranormal experiences started, was from using the Ouija board? Or do you think it was around before?
I think it was around before. I had some other experiences that weren't necessarily ghost related,
Yeah.
but I'm sort of prone to seeing strange things.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
having strange things happen.
Yeah, you've
So
had some,
yeah, I
you've
think
had
it
some,
started
you've had some
before.
crazy stuff
Oh,
happen
yeah.
that you told me.
Yeah, more crazy things than I would put over the
Not,
air.
not lately, though.
Not lately, but I really I think that the experience I told you guys about in the car, where I felt like in a ghost hunt an entity sort of followed me home, I just totally stopped, and I've made a really conscious effort to not pay attention. And I think that's a big part of it, is the more you pay attention, the more it kicks up and the more it wants attention. And so I think that ignoring things like this is probably one of your best defenses.
Well, maybe that's what it's hard to tell these stories. It is, because I remember I laid it all out there when we talked about my experiences in my old apartment with the creepy guy thing crawling out of the bathroom with
Yeah.
the arched back. You know, it's like, are people going to think I'm nuts? But I did
Right.
see that. And it's
Oh, yeah.
hard because it sounds, if somebody else told me that, I'd be like, psh,
I know.
another
So
one.
It's
weird
hard
to
not
talk
be
about.
skeptical.
It's very hard, but
But then you hear other people's stories and
Yeah.
you realize you're not the only one who's had those experiences.
Right.
that's what sells me on this, is that she told me about this stuff long before 2009, about the
Yep.
Z spirit
Yep.
and stuff.
Very aggressive. And he
Yeah.
tried to, I remember a common theme. Most of the time, that entity was very nonsensical. Like, you couldn't really make out what he was spelling, which
And
was
see, that
very different than the other ones.
I came
Yeah.
up with a lot of that looking at these stories where
Yeah.
people say he starts writing nonsense words
Yep.
or starts stringing words together that don't make sense.
And we would ask why he couldn't really make conversation the way that other ones could, and he always the answer was that it was too old. It was too old. And
That's
then
creepy.
yeah, and a really creepy thing is, we were teenagers, we were stupid, and we're like, what do you look like? And I remember we said, what color hair do you have? And he said, pus.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was one of the first.
Pus?
Yeah. Yes.
So when did you
If
know?
you ever go on a dating website, don't put pus for your hair color, because
No,
you're
it's
not
not.
gonna.
It's not attractive.
like a foamy yellow.
It looks like creamed corn.
Ew.
So when did you know
hate
that
cream
Zozo
corn.
was a male entity? Because you keep saying he.
Right.
And everybody kind of says
Everybody
he.
says he.
I don't know that we ever knew it was a he.
It's
was
very
just
weird
like
because
a-
I've never seen people explaining why it's a
intuitive
he,
thing.
Yeah.
but they just know it's a he.
Well, then we had another demonic entity, which I know Kurt knows about too, that
That one I
that
don't.
seemed blatantly demonic from the very, very beginning, and that was a she.
That's the one.
And
that,
I don't say
that's-
her name.
No, that's the one that even I don't say that name, because that story really freaks me out.
Yeah, it still freaks me out.
I'll
to
say
this day.
Zozo. I'm fine saying Zozo, but her other story,
Yeah.
Are you willing to share that
No.
story? No.
no.
No, it's
I don't
too-
want her to
it's
share that
too
story because
crazy.
that story's crazy.
Okay.
And yeah, really scary.
And I think about the name freaks me out. So yeah,
Yep, I could still see it spelled out.
maybe I'll
on
tell
the
you
board,
sometime.
like, yeah, you can tell her. I just don't want to tell it on the podcast.
Yeah. That's probably the story that I've heard from a friend of mine that's creeped me out the most
Yeah.
ever, because that's. I don't want to keep teasing our listeners, so
Right.
we'll move on.
Right. And like another thing that struck me too as being similar is the telling people that they're going to die
Yep.
and how they're going to
Yep.
die. That was something that was
Yep.
very, very common in
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Very specific. It didn't happen. It
Right.
should have happened by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was and
So
it was,
yeah, I mean, these are all things that she told me back
Right.
years before the Zozo thing
Yeah.
was big. So that's why it.
Yeah.
I
and
know-
it like infiltrated my dreams. It was
Yeah.
like years of fear and strangeness.
When did the internet get to a point
that-
where you could really start Googling stuff?
I don't
though?
know, but that's the thing is that people say, well, where was he before 2009? And before 2009,
internet wasn't
the internet
as-
wasn't there, so there was
Right.
no
Right.
central place where people could be like, hey, so this
now
happened to
you
me
can
too.
just
Right.
Google it up on your phone, and
Yeah.
before
Yep.
you had to find out word of mouth or reading a book or
Yep.
So I don't think that means it wasn't around before 2009.
No, it's just there weren't-
I remember reading the first ever article that I read about this phenomenon, and I could just feel the blood
Yep.
just sink. Like
felt yourself going pale.
just completely pale. Yeah,
Yeah.
like cold sweat. Yeah. It's so scary.
Okay, lastly, number 3 theory. Zozo didn't exist, but does now. And this kind of goes back to the Philip experiment, where a group of
it was
paranormal
manifested.
researchers in 1972 actually created paranormal activity by creating an intricate backstory of somebody that died. It is theorized that as more people come to believe in a story, it's possible that the belief actually manifests in reality. This is usually called a tulpa. A tulpa is defined as a being or an intelligence created by focused thought and recurrent interaction. It's similar to an imaginary friend, except tulpas possess their own will, thoughts, and emotions, allowing them to act independently of their creators. Even if Zozo doesn't exist, the use of a Ouija board could cause people to become certain that he exists, causing him to exist. So yeah.
I think there's some truth in
I think
that.
there's some
I
truth
think
to that, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always read that anything demonic is definitely made more powerful by any notice of it at all.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
What was that?
Cool.
I don't know.
Noises. Yay.
Something over there.
Yeah. Like hitting the window or something
Yeah.
over there? Okay.
I swear to God, if I start getting
No,
weird
I've
shit
heard that.
happening in my
I know,
apartment now-
seriously.
right.
I'm getting a little warm, you guys.
So we'll wrap this part up quick. So conclusion, Ouija boards / Zozo, is it actually spirits causing the thing to move, and does Zozo exist? We're going to start with Adam.
Okay.
Adam?
I think it's all fascinating. I will never touch one. And I've never heard any of these stories that my wife is talking about.
Oh boy. You guys are going to have a lot to talk
So-
about on the trip home.
Yeah, they can
interesting.
all be confirmed.
Yeah,
Ask
I believe
Amy.
them.
Yeah.
because Amy was there for all
Yeah.
that.
Well, as we talked about, Adam is a skeptic, and it's a crazy claim to make. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's not like Adam doesn't know some
That's-
of my crazy shit. but-
Yeah,
Oh, my
Yeah.
crazy stuff.
That's all right.
we can leave that in.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well,
can
and
le-
that can be difficult
learned a
too,
lot.
because my husband's a skeptic too. And when I come home from an investigation with after having something breathe in my ear,
Yeah.
he just doesn't want to believe it, and
Right,
he'll kind
right.
of discount it and not. I'm like, so you think your wife is either crazy, hallucinating, making what do you think is going on?
Right.
That can be frustrating too.
Yeah.
But ever since he got scratched, I think he's a little bit more.
The scratching thing was
Open-minded.
weird.
Yeah.
It freaked him out.
Yeah.
It's-
I think too it's incredibly stressful to talk about, and obviously you guys I'm sure know my stance on it already.
Yeah.
And I do absolutely believe that if I did something stupid and invited something in again, that I feel like I would be putting myself in danger. So it's definitely not something I talk about with very special few, Kurt.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So what about demons, Adam? What do you feel about demons? Do you think those exist?
Yeah, you guys are putting me on the spot.
You're so quiet.
I'm always quiet.
I know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's
lean
better than I
towards
don't believe that they exist.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess.
Yeah, I tend to lean towards scientific explanations for things. So I thought the study that you mentioned where they
the Philip,
the muscle movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can totally see that.
Yeah, being an
Being a thing.
explanation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So.
I think that happens all the time.
Yep.
I don't think it accounts for all of it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I think it definitely happens.
And I think I've said before, demons are that thing that I'm not sure I believe in it, but it scares me enough that I don't
Demons
ever
are
wanna
demons
mess
are
with
weird.
it.
I want to
Right.
have an episode about demons because I don't know. I don't know if I believe in demons. I believe in ghosts.
Sure.
We know that. I believe in something.
I don't know that I've ever encountered anything demonic,
No.
but I don't know.
I almost feel like I'm the opposite at this point, where I believe less in ghosts
And more
as
that
the
there's a-
spirits of dead people,
Yeah.
and more
Yeah.
in like psychic and telekinetic power that people have inside themselves,
Yep.
and then
Manifest.
darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, also, like, I very strongly believe, like we talked about outside, too, in places picking up an energy
Yeah.
and then replaying it.
Yep.
So,
Well, that's actually a pretty common belief among religious people who are really religious. You're not talking to ghosts; you're talking to demons.
Yeah.
There are no ghosts.
No, a lot
there
of
are
people have
demons.
told me that there's no
Right.
such thing as ghosts, that
Especially
they're
in
all demons.
Catholicism.
right.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
definitely will have a hard time believing, believing a ghost. If I was contacted by
Yeah.
a ghost, I would be incredibly skeptical of it at this point. Although it does make me wonder, because the entire reason that we stopped going on the Ouija board was because we were warned, and it
Yeah.
seems completely counterintuitive why a demon would warn us not
Yeah.
to use this
Right.
thing. You know,
Yeah.
so I don't know what that's all about, but
There's
Well,
just so
and you
much.
do
I mean,
hear-
I don't know if I know what ghosts are. We've discussed this on
Yeah,
another
there's so
episode
many
that
possible
I don't know.
explanations.
yeah.
There's something weird going on. I know that, but I don't know what it is.
Parallel
Right.
universe, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Right.
Yep.
There's so many options out there.
You do hear stories, though, about people being led away from danger. Like,
Right.
similar to your situation, or being literally miraculously surviving something that
Yep.
they should not have survived, like a horrific car accident, and they say something was there that, you know, protected them somehow.
Yeah.
You have to think there's
It's like that
some
one
good
story.
out there, too.
That one story I
Right.
love of that church that exploded. It was on Unsolved Mysteries, and it was on a couple of different places. But there was a church. I want to say it was Georgia or some southern state. There was a church, and the choir got together there every Tuesday night. There were like 15 people in the choir every Tuesday night at 7:30 or something like that to practice their choir stuff. And one Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, or no, at like 8 o'clock, a half hour after they were supposed to be there, the church exploded. And all 15 people had different reasons why they weren't able to make it. Like one person's car didn't start.
Oh, my God.
Somebody
Oh,
else
that's
fell
cool.
asleep. Somebody else lost track of time. And like every single person that was supposed to be at
nobody
that
showed
church,
up?
nobody showed up. It was completely empty when it blew up. So that's,
Oh, wow.
I mean, how do you
That's
explain
cool.
that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen that story a couple places, and that's just like
Never heard
really cool.
that.
I mean, it could be coincidence, but
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
a
know.
wild coincidence, though.
And then there's the whole concept too of like so much of our brain isn't used.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yep.
maybe there are parts that have some psychic function,
Yeah.
or
I
or
totally-
maybe this demonic energy is just a really, really dark, scary part of
Yep.
yourself. I
Well,
don't
that's a
know.
scary
You know,
thought.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that think that that just parts of our brains that we don't use anymore that are psychic that we used to use back, but now with language and all that stuff, we don't really use it anymore.
Right.
And I could see that manifesting itself through somebody using the Ouija board. So yeah, Krista, Ouija board, ghosts moving it. Zozo, does he exist?
It's tough because I've never experienced it myself. I've experienced dowsing rods moving. That's what led us back to that coat that said, "Would you wear it?"
Yeah.
Or not the coat didn't say, "Would you wear it?" But
Something said what you
I actually stopped using the dowsing rods and the pendulum because I started to equate it too much to a Ouija board. Like something is moving through me to move these.
Right.
And it freaked me out enough. It's like demons. I've never had an experience, but it freaks me out enough that I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not taking the chance.
Right.
It's like I'm not going to get in my car without putting my seatbelt on. I'm not playing with a Ouija board
Right.
just because of the risk.
Sophie, Ouija board, are spirits moving it, and does Zozo exist?
Something exists. I don't know what it is,
Yep.
but it's frightening, and I would say just don't open that door. it doesn't even matter what it is.
Right.
You know, just it's a risk you shouldn't take.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I know I've been skeptical in the last couple podcasts with the Solway Firth photo that I shot down and all that other stuff that Corey even messaged and said he's happy to have me on board the skeptical train. But this is one situation where I'm not skeptical. I totally believe that there is something to Ouija boards.
Yeah.
I really do. I think there's too many stories. I know too many people that have had stuff happen.
Right. Credible people that we
Yeah.
trust. Yeah.
I think I've talked about this on another podcast, but when I was younger, I played with a Ouija board by myself in the basement of the house I lived in, and I put both hands on the planchette, and I asked, is there anybody here with me right now? And it started to move on its own, and it went to the letter D, and then U, and then K, and I was thinking, this is gibberish, it's D-U-K, and then after that it went to E and spelled Duke, and I was like, I immediately stopped, and I'm like, because I didn't think it was going to be a name. I didn't think it was going to be a
Right.
word. It went to D-U-K, and then all of a sudden E. So I completely stopped. And that was the last time that I used a Ouija board because that really freaked me out. So I do think that Ouija boards, something is causing them to move, and I totally buy into the Zozo thing. I think that there's something, and a lot of that stems from Sophie's experiences that she told me about before anybody else knew about this Zozo stuff. And I mean, right there is my proof that there's something weird going on. Is it a demon? Is it some weird part of ourselves causing it? I don't know, but there's something going on with whatever that Z thing is. So yeah.
What do our listeners think?
Yeah, what do you guys think?
Have you had an experience with Zozo? Zozo.
Zozo.
Do you play with Ouija boards? I'd like to hear from our What were you going to say, Adam?
One thing I wanted to ask was this invented in the United States, he said?
That's a good question.
Because the reason I ask is it seems like all these stories, whatever is spelling words on this board, it's in English.
That's true. Yeah.
I think
But they do play with them in other countries.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I was going to ask, do they?
That's
is
a
this
really
an
good question. That
international
I actually
game?
don't know
And
the answer to, but that's a good question.
That
if
is
you
really
found
fascinating.
stories of people playing it in other countries and
Yeah.
it's spelling things in their language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure
You
Parker
mentioned
Brothers,
something where it was started spelling gibberish, so they stopped playing, and I thought maybe
Maybe it
it
was
was
another
a
language.
different language.
Huh.
That's a really good question.
Really interesting.
That is a really good question.
I mean, people
That's
have
something I'm going to
certainly
look up.
gotten EVPs in other
Yeah.
languages.
Yeah.
They're not always in English.
Yeah.
So.
But that would be like if I was using a Ouija board and it started speaking in French that I can't speak French, that would be like,
you
whoa.
might not recognize.
But I know, but it
that
would also be
French
like,
either.
holy crap, this isn't me causing this because I don't speak French.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So that's a really good question. I'm going to have to look
Do
that
some
up.
research.
Like, in France, do Ouija boards answer in French? That's
sure.
a good question.
Or do they answer in a different language
and
than
you
the
just
people
don't
playing it?
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
realize that it's a different language. Because this one guy said it was cursing him in Hebrew and
Ugh.
biblical terms and stuff. So
No biblical talk. No, no.
so yeah, that's a really good question. I'm gonna have to look that up. Are you guys ready to answer a question?
And no.
Oh boy.
I wasn't
No.
prepared for answering a question. Hopefully it's not the one I asked. Yeah, I don't think.
Do you guys know who asks some?
No.
Do you guys want to
Well,
hear
hopefully it's
something
not
that I
this
hope
one.
doesn't make you mad?
What?
I asked the one about the serial killer. Do you want your child to be a
Seriously?
serial
That
killer
was you?
or the victim of a
great
That was a
question.
hard
I was
question.
like, what would be a
Frustrating, though.
really hard question?
That was a really hard question.
I don't know what I would say, and I
That's
have
like
a
that
child.
Would you rather
know?
game? You know,
Yeah.
both options suck.
Right? Yeah.
So that
Both
was
are
you.
horrifying.
That was
me.
you that put us through that.
Ah.
Yep.
Wasn't that like a really downer?
was a really good
Those were
one.
really downer
It was
questions.
kind of a big
Yeah.
downer. I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Okay,
maybe
hang on
I
here.
shouldn't have submitted that.
All right, going into our listener question database.
I love that we have a whole database of listener questions.
There's quite a few. The listener question today is, I just listened to the episode about time traveler John Teeter. Good episode, guys. My question to each of you, and that would be all four of us,
Yep.
if you had a time machine and could go to one point in time, future or past, where would you go?
Sweet. That's a good question.
Like a location or a year?
They just said
Or
where.
both.
I totally know where I'd go. So if you want me to go first.
So with a time machine.
Yes, you could go to the
So we're
future, you could go to
talking
the
a
past,
year.
you could go anywhere.
era.
You could go whatever you want to answer,
go
you could
first.
answer. I've actually thought about this because I get really bored at work sometimes running my machine, so I thought about where I would go. If I could go absolutely anywhere with a time machine, I would go back to around the years 1977, 1978 when I was a kid. I think I would go to my neighborhood, and I think I would like to see myself as a kid, but I'm really nostalgic for that time. And this gets kind of crazy ideas here, but I don't know if it's because I'm looking back through nostalgia or looking back at a time in my life when I was happy and all that stuff, but I really feel like things were different back then.
Oh,
I
they
feel,
were, though.
but I mean, I feel like reality was different back then. I feel like things aren't now like they were then. And I think when I think of that time, I think of a peaceful time. I think of the skies. I think of looking at the clouds. And I feel, we've talked about this in other podcasts, I feel like reality now isn't like it was back then. And part of me feels like it's because, this sounds dumb, but I feel like because we're bombarded by waves all day. You have cell phone waves. You have all these waves going through the air. And I feel like that has messed something up. I really do. I feel like back in those days, you had radio waves, television, you know, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I feel like now there's so much crap in the air that I feel like it's almost kind of a pollution. And I would like to go back to those days in the 70s where life was just
simpler time.
life.
Yeah.
You know, there was no cell phone. There was no anything where you could go outside and it was just peaceful. And I would like to go back to that time and see myself as a kid because I really miss those days. So that's my answer. I would go back to 77, 78. So
I'd be 2 years old.
I was 7 or 8.
I don't remember that.
Adam and I were born in 79.
Wow. Make me feel old.
You're old.
I am old.
You know what? You guys were all old. So.
We are.
Yeah. I'll be 42 on Tuesdays.
I feel the same way. I feel like I'm more nostalgic about times past more so lately. Like when
Yeah.
I ate that pizza earlier today.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you said, it was
Yeah.
like being in high school
After basketball.
after
practice.
basketball
Yep.
practice, which was after he said that, I was like, that's actually a really cool thing to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good memory.
Yeah.
So is that what you would pick, is to go back? What's your choice?
No, I guess I'm going next. I think I'd go forward in time because I don't want to go back and mess anything up.
It's good thinking.
I like space exploration a lot, so I think I'd want to go.
Seriously?
Yeah, isn't that scary?
It's
Do you like
really
the idea
scary.
of
Yeah,
going
I
into
know.
space?
No.
Yes. So I
You
want
would
to.
go
I want to
anywhere.
go
Yeah.
Terrifying.
That terrifies
I know.
us.
into the future and be on a starship and travel the galaxy.
That's actually really cool.
Would you be Jean-Luc Picard?
No,
That would be cool.
Picard was awesome.
I know.
And he's
it
got
would
a new show.
obviously be Data.
Oh, yes. Data. With the headband for the glasses. Was that Data?
No,
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 that
that
was
was
Geordie
Geordie.
LaForge.
Geordie.
I
Data's
loved
the one that is the
the robot.
Was he
android.
green?
Kind
Yes.
of greenish,
Okay.
yeah,
Not
like
green.
greenish
Little
silver.
shiny and
He's pale.
pale. Okay, yeah.
I
Yellow
love the next
eyes.
generation.
Dracula
I'm so
hair.
glad that Picard's got a new show coming out.
Yeah, that's
I never
awesome.
watched
He's
any
awesome.
of the
Awesome
Star Trek shows.
Seriously?
Yeah, it wasn't a Trekkie. Sorry.
The old one was cheesy, but Next Generation was good.
But that's
Yeah.
what was great about the old
Yeah, agreed.
cheesiness.
Yeah, it's fun.
So you'd go into the future and do space exploration.
Oh, that
Yeah,
just,
but wasn't the question like a specific?
no, it was
time?
just where would you go? There was no specific,
Yeah.
unless you want to throw in a
I
specific
think
time.
we as humans want to pick a specific time because that's what our whole lives run around time.
I love the
Yeah.
idea of being on a spaceship like the Enterprise, not like this cramped little thing you go up into space and
Not like
Possible.
reality.
no, not like
Yeah.
reality. I like the idea of being
Yeah.
like in a big ship.
Yeah.
Where
With a-
there's
a-
gravity, for one.
Yeah.
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 An
Gravity.
atmosphere and
Yep.
Breathable air would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's a big deal.
I would get kicked off for being in the holodeck the whole time because I could have some fun in the holodeck.
the
Yes.
what?
Moving
The
on.
holodeck.
Yeah.
I'll tell you sometime.
Okay.
I'll tell you on the next drive down here.
The next one. Okay. I think I have such a fascination with like antiques, and I'm fascinated by hearing about my great grandmother and what life was like back then. And I just I grew up in the house that my great grandparents built in 1919. My parents still live there. The 20s are such a fascinating time for me. I would love to go back and experience the 20s. It was a very tumultuous time too, but
that's a time I don't know a lot about because I've never really
the roaring
cared. I've
20s.
never
I
really.
don't think the 20s get enough credit for how crazy they were and just revolutionary.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
Flappers and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah,
especially for women. I mean,
because
really.
that
Well, yeah,
was
the 20s were a big
incredibly,
era for women.
Yeah.
That's that would be my choice. Yeah.
That's a really cool choice. I would go way back because I'm obsessed with animals and nature, and I tell my son this all the time, but I'm like, if I could spend even 5 seconds on Earth when dinosaurs roamed the Earth, even though the oxygen saturation was different back then, I mean, everything would kill you. But
I
to me,
didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, but to me, it would be
That kind of puts the
worth
kibosh
it
on time
just
travel back
to
there.
see what it was really like. I think it would be absolutely incredible.
And sort of like the
be-
world before it was, an unspoiled version of
Right.
Earth.
It would be
Yeah.
really interesting to see.
That was
It
my
would
second
be
choice.
Amazing. Yeah.
dinosaurs.
My second
so
choice was
cool.
like
Land
the
of the Lost.
1800s and stuff like that. That would be my second choice, like Victorian
Yeah.
times.
Sure.
Wow,
I'm
that
also
was
fascinated with the 50s because getting back to just a time that was so simple. Mm-hmm. Also probably a little naive, but I don't know. It just seemed like everything was very clean and happy. And
Right.
I mean, there was that wasn't the Cold War going on? When was that?
the Cold War was pretty much the 50s through
50s,
the 80s.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's not delightful where you're training your kids
No.
to hide under their desk when there's,
Right.
but
Yeah, because we
it just
talked
seems
about
like such a. I hear my mom talk about what it was like to be a teenager in the 50s, and
Yeah.
it's such fantastic memories for her. And
those were like the
think that would be fun.
Sputnik Cold War days.
Yeah.
Yep.
We talked about the Cold. Oh no, we didn't release that episode yet. Never mind. we talked about
Spoiler alert.
about some Cold War stuff on our unreleased episode that we're saving. But
for a
that was
snowstorm,
yeah. But yes, wow. So we had dinosaur times,
the 20s,
the 20s, the 70s, and the future space exploration. That was quite the.
running the gamut.
That was really running the
We got
gamut.
it
But those
covered.
were all.
Question.
Those were
Yeah.
all, that was a good
I like
question,
it.
and those were all good answers.
Cool.
I would love to go back to the 70s. I really would. I don't know. I think a lot of it is because I remember some of the 70s, but a lot of it comes from Dazed and Confused.
Right.
And
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's like
Yes.
where it's like a
I just want to be a character in that
Me
story
too.
so
I
bad.
know.
I know. Me too. I love that
it's my
movie.
second
I've
favorite
seen it
movie.
so many
Second
times.
favorite movie all time.
What's your first favorite movie?
You know what my favorite movie is of all time. We've discussed this in a previous episode.
Debbie Does Dallas.
No, but I may or may not have that at home.
That means he has it at home. I feel like my friendship is being tested right now. What is your favorite movie?
Almost Famous.
Oh,
I love
those
Almost
movies.
Famous.
Yeah,
I
those
think they're
movies had a lot
similar.
in common.
Yeah.
Well,
They do.
take place in the 70s, obviously. I love both of those movies so much.
But I don't know if a lot of it is looking back through people's idealizing the 70s, like in Dazed and Confused and stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, I don't know if it's like the 50s. I think the 50s are idealized
Right.
a lot, where I think the reality of the 50s wasn't
A little
happy
different.
days and
Same
stuff
with
like
the
that.
70s, though. I mean, wasn't the draft still happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vietnam,
Yeah.
etc. I think to be a teenager in the 70s
But
is
that's-
probably awesome.
Yeah, but that's the
Right.
thing. I know
Yeah.
I know
Teen
people
girl in the
I know
70s,
people
probably
who
not
were
so great.
teenagers in
Yeah.
the 70s that say it sucked, that they hated it.
Yeah.
But I was a teenager in the 90s, and I thought it sucked.
I was a teenager
Right.
in the 80s and I
Yeah.
loved it. The
Nobody
80s
appreciates
the
the dick
80s
if
was
they
in
grew up in.
my opinion the best era to grow up in.
And you
'cause
were a
it-
teenager during that time?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you're a
love
rarity then.
because
I
I
think
like the
most
times.
people,
I
when they
think
were a
I think
teenager-
I appreciated the times I grew up in. I
think
appreciated
so.
the 80s when I was there. I think a lot of people don't appreciate the time that they grow up in.
Totally. Except like my mom. Like people that age, I think the 50s were, the shit.
Wow. Now I'm all
We got deep in
we
whatnot.
got all deep in thought. Really good question, whoever asked that. Thank you.
Thanks, anonymous stranger.
Thanks, anonymous stranger. I think that's it.
I think so. It's a wrap.
So thank you so much, Sophie and Adam, for being here.
Thank you. This
You're welcome.
was super
Thank you.
fun.
Was it everything you thought it was going to
Yes. It fulfilled all of my hopes and dreams.
Awesome. Wow, that's all we could
It's
ask
the
for.
best birthday present I could have given her.
That's right. Exactly.
Aw. And I'm so glad you came up with the idea for that.
I know. It's
Well, when you first messaged me about it, I was like, there's nothing.
Who's this weird guy
No,
sending me a
no,
message?
I didn't think that. But
Delete.
I thought, it'd be great for her to see us and to do the podcast, but there's not a whole lot else to do around here. But then when you started
Are
talking.
you kidding me? Did you see that ice machine?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the ice machine.
Oh, that's great.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, the hotel they're staying at in Manitowoc, one of the hallways has this really weird little scenario where there's an ice machine and there's two chairs positioned to watch the ice,
really
really comfortable chairs
expensive
where you would
chairs.
where you want to plop down and watch the ice machine. It's just really weird.
Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
If you're friends with Kurt on Facebook,
You'll see it, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just weird.
It was very weird.
But other than hanging out with us and the fabulous ice machine, there's just not a lot else to do. But then when Adam started talking about the car ferry, going across on the car ferry, which is one of the edges of the Lake Michigan Triangle, we told you guys that.
Yep.
Watch
I
for
remember
ghost
that
ships.
episode.
Watch for ghost ships.
Oh, I hope we see a ghost ship.
It'll be daytime, so probably not,
Ghosts
see.
happen in the day.
Yeah.
I guess.
Ghosts.
Well, Rhonda was on that episode, and she said that people have seen weird things. Mm-hmm. So let us know. Get back on the show. Come back again and let us
Hope you
know
come back.
how that goes.
Never to be heard from again.
Oh, God.
But thank you guys so much for being here. It was awesome having you guys here.
Yay.
And thank you, listeners, for listening.
Rate us
And-
on iTunes, please. Watch for stickers.
Yep, watch for stickers. We've
Tell
got
us
some
what you
merchandise
think.
made. Tell us what you think. As always, give us feedback. Let us know. I really want to find out what the hell that breaded thing was we ate because I'm really curious. That might
Breaded fish
be a
skin.
mystery in itself. Some episode. So thanks again for the food, Liz. And until next time,
Stay strange.
Perfect.
That was a good one. This has been an Old School Media production, executive produced by Kirk Konechny. For more information and content, please visit strangesessions.com.